I still remember that fateful evening of January 2018. After the hectic day of a picnic being celebrated with my colleagues, when it late evening, I made a phone call to know the status of my son studying in VIT Vellore. I was surprised when his phone was received by his hostel warden. When asked, the hostel warden casually just informed me that his son got caught red-handed while entering in the hostel with his fellow students with drugs, with hoof. I was surprised. It was shock. It was like a bolt from the blue. Our son, my son, whom we know very the very beginning of his life, got caught red-handed with drugs, narcotics. I asked God, why? Why with my family this happened to me? When some hurdles, some tribunals, some setback happen with us, most of us, we ask like this, are not we? My dear friends, back of mind, I always remind myself one beautiful verse from the Holy Quran that says, God does not burden a soul beyond that it can bear. God does not burden a soul beyond that it can bear. So my friends, for next few minutes, let us go together of my life's biggest crisis. How this beautiful verse of Holy Quran saved the life of a soul. It was me who put my son in science stream after class 10 in a hostel. It was also me who decided to put our son in computer science engineering after 10 plus 2. You know, every parents wants their child to become either an engineer or doctor and IS officer. So as being an engineer, it was always in back of my mind that my son also do engineering only. But my wife, she told me that our son is good in arts and humanities. So why should not he go for arts stream so that later he can go for IS coaching to become an IS officer? But you know, back of my mind, already I decided. So what I did, so at that time I read so many of Tony Robbins' book. I arranged one half-day counseling between myself, my son and my wife. And after half day of counseling, what emerged? So my son is very passionate about doing computer programming in near future. So for that, he had to do science stream in 10 plus 2 so that later on he can admitted in engineering college. So I convinced my son and my wife that yes, he should go for science stream in 10 plus 2 and then engineering. But unfortunately, his score in joint entrance test was not up to the mark to get admission in NIT or IIT. But at the same time, he scored very good in Vellore Institute of Technology entrance examination, and he easily got admitted in computer science stream in Vellore VIT Vellore. So he seemed so happy, and me, I was also so happy. Yes, our son got admitted at least one of the most prestigious colleges of India, that is VIT Vellore. That too, that sought after stream that time is computer science and engineering. It's a happy moment for us. But that news of getting caught in narcotic case totally shattered me. So sitting in Patna, that time only option remains with me is somehow console Mohsin. Because back of mind, I always remind myself with another quote which says, life is only 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. So that day, somehow my only option to engage Mohsin in communication with me. But Mohsin that time, he was put under a house arrest. He was put inside a dispensary which was converted like a rehabilitation center along with his fellow students. There was a guard outside. Nobody could enter. Lot of medical profession came, and they, all these blood tests and all these things, they were treated like a drug addict. So somehow, I collected a number of that rehabilitation center, and I could connect our son over landline phone. But what emerged is totally shocking. The other fellow student, he was already a drug addict, and he provoked Mohsin to go for this. But that fellow was very smart and clever. So what he did that Sunday evening when they went out for some walk or something, when they came back and about to enter their hostel campus, so this guy, what he did, he put his whip and other materials in our son's bag, and they got red-handed. So but as you know, sitting in Patna, IIT Patna, far away from VIT Vedor, there is nothing I could do. But somehow I collected a number of his local guardian and requested him to arrange a meeting with Mohsin and his hostel warden to know what happened. But at the same time, what happened? My wife from Assam, she could collect the hostel warden phone number and somehow could know the total situation, what is the development going on there. So now, that was my turn. So that time sitting in Patna, I had two crises to handle. One is to console Mohsin over telephone, who was in a house arrest condition with narcotics case. Another is my wife. And obviously, it is very difficult to handle a lady, especially the son's mother. But as I already told you, life is only 10% what happens to us and 90% how we react to it. So I kept on communicating with Mohsin over telephone just to console him. But at the same time, I had to listen a lot of things from my wife. Why you put Mohsin in VIT Vedor? Why you put him in science team? I told him he should be our student. Why you put him? But when life gets harder, you challenge yourself to be stronger. So what I did, I admitted, I told my wife over telephone, it's my fault, it's my failure. I could not upbring Mohsin in the proper way, and it's my total failure. So it's my fight. Let me fight this fight alone. I'll bring back Mohsin from that particular condition. So what I did, I reminded our son again and again that beautiful verse from the Holy Quran that says, the God does not burden a soul beyond that it can bear. I did it with a clear intention. You know what I mean? When a young boy got caught in such type of narcotic case and he was already exposed in the entire college and especially in front of his parents, what in such case, in such setback, one do? Yes, they tried to commit suicide. So I kept on talking till night 2 o'clock. But this time another blow came to me. His local guardian called me back and he said, in such type of narcotic case, the only option is our son will be rusticated from the college forever. It's a big blow. But I couldn't express it to my son or either to my wife, who was against his studying in VIT Vedor. So next day, even though I took a flight to Chennai from Patna, but as I reached late, I couldn't meet Mohsin. But just imagine what may be the situation in that particular house arrest room. Because by this time, the other fellow student was also released by his son staying in Bangalore. So our son was all alone in that room, and nurse, all time she couldn't know what our son is doing. So I kept on talking again and again over telephone and telling him this beautiful verse of Holy Quran. So next day morning, when I met our son, he was totally broke. He cried like a little kid. I told him, take a deep breath and say to yourself, it was a bad day. It's not a bad life. So after all these formalities, I put him in a nearby hotel. He cried like anything. But I told him, Challenges are what makes life interesting, but overcoming that challenge is what makes life meaningful. Just have faith on God, that God is always there for you. The, that sometimes the process is hard and painful, but when God is silent, that doesn't mean that He's not doing. He's planning the best plan for you. So at this particular point of time, what you need is only patience. I took him to a mosque, we prayed, and next day the worst decision of college authority came to us. Our son will be rusticated from the college as well as for the hostel forever. So there is no other option. Totally dark. On hell ground, we had to vacate hostel as well as college. Now we sat in Chennai railway station in a bench, totally dark. It's a big blow for our son's student career. What will happen? Sitting idle there, back of my mind, I again remind myself that I am not the product of circumstances. I am the result of choices. But Mohsin was continuously crying. I told him another beautiful verse of Holy Quran that says, verily with hardship there is relief. Verily with hardship there is relief. So that time we decided, we took 2 tickets in Chennai Express from Chennai to Delhi. As from next day onward, I already decided to enroll in a program on NLP with Muhammad Rafi, my friends. Neuro-linguistic programming, 5 days. So we boarded in the train and proceeding to Delhi. And in the train itself, we met another group, Tabligh Jamaat. You know, Tabligh, they are doing Islamic preaching all over the world. So for the first time in our life, we did our namaz, our prayer in running train also, to forget what happened to us. So next day morning, when we went to that NLP counseling session, Muhammad Rafi, the coach, in his mystical voice, in his magical environment, he put us through a journey called Betty Erickson hypnosis. After 15 minutes, everyone will walk out except our son. He was still in like a coma. Coach told, let him be like in this position. So after another 10 minutes, when he woke up, something different he told. He expressed it is his mission, his dream, it is his passion not to become a computer programmer. He was to become a musician, a DJ, disc jockey. It was another blow. Just imagine how much hard work I have to do to convince his mother from science to BTech to now totally something different, disc jockey. For the first time in my life that evening, I had to visit a DJ institute in Delhi along with my sons. Because when you had something you never had, you have to do something you have never done. After a brainstorming session, what emerged? Our son is to pursue mass communications. So next day, when we attended the NLP program again, so when the coach Muhammad Rafi asked everyone to say something unique about their close one, when it's my son's turn, when he described the total crisis, how they came up to this point, and how he described about me, my eyes rolled down from my eyes. And what about the other 50%? Everybody's eyes were filled with tears. And what about Muhammad Rafi? For the first time in his entire training career, he brought myself and my son, he hugged them, pat in our shoulder, and he whispered, you are not only a great father, you had a great son too. This particular statement changed the entire life of our son. Now, pursuing mass communication in Delhi, he is now the class topper. That's why I'm telling you, that particular stanza of Holy Quran, God does not burden a soul beyond that it can bear. If you follow this, your life will be, you can challenge any hurdles easily. Thank you. Thank you for listening to me.